Hello students, welcome to the session. In this session I will be explaining about the continuation topic, which is cooperative process. So after that we will be discussing what is cooperating process and what are the different methods of cooperating process. So today's topic is regarding cooperating process. So what is cooperating process? So today's topic is cooperating process. In this topic what we are going to discuss is, as the name says, we have already discussed what is a process. So if I have one process that is executed or that is present in your RAM, or it is in the ready queue for execution, and you have one more process like process 2. Okay, we have process 1 and process 2. Okay, you can take an example of, say for example, I'll consider I want to use Google Meet. Okay, so when I want to use Google Meet software will be using some other sub softwares. In the sense, if this is a process 1, this process 1 will be accessing information by using process 2 and process 3. Okay, what are these process 2 and process 3 is? For example, process 2, it may be the camera, and process 3, it may be the mic that you are using. Okay, now what does that mean is, if this software wants to work perfectly, it needs, or it wants to take the information from camera, and it will also take the information from mic. Okay, similarly, so this type of representation or this type of function will consider as cooperating process. Cooperating process is a process where one process that is executed will be communicating with other processes for some data, or it may be requesting the other process for some event or some calculation. Okay, so this type of processes will consider it as cooperating process. Okay, so that is, if one process communicates with other process for any data or any event or any kind of calculation, that function is nothing but cooperating process. Okay, so in this we will come across two different types of process. One is like independent process, and other one is cooperating process. Okay, so cooperating we have already discussed. Cooperating is when one process is communicating with other process for some information, then it is called as cooperating process. Independent processes, if a process that does not depend on any other process for execution, that kind of process will consider as independent process. Okay, which does not depend on any other process. Okay, now while coming for cooperating process will be divided into several types, like we are going to discuss one by one. In that, first is some processes which will be used only for sharing information. It is going to share only information between one process and the other process. So that is, if, as I told you, we have discussed about camera as well as Google Meet. Google Meet is a process that is going to take information from camera. Okay, so similarly, one more type of processes, like that is based on computation. Computation is, if one process wants to execute, that process will be accessing information from the other process. Okay, so you can consider some examples. For example, if you can also consider mic as an example. Mic as a device, as you know, we have some basic things like analog as well as digital, right? So analog as well as digital. Analog is, if the data is in the form of sine wave, or it will be in the form of waves, then it is called as analog. Digital is, if the data is in the form of ones and zeros, then it is called as digital data. Now the mic, what does it does is, mic is going to take analog data and it is going to convert into digital value. So that is, when you want to execute, when the Google Meet has to work, it is going to take the information from the mic, where it is going to convert analog signals into digital signals. So that type of process will be like computational cooperative process. Similarly, we'll have modularity, as well as we'll have other different types of cooperative processes. Okay. So modularity is when you divide any process into sub processes, then the main process will be accessing information from the sub process, which is like modularity, that we have discussed in the many other examples also. Like when you consider, when you are using MS Word will be having sub processes like checking the spelling, or we have spell check, as well as we have other different types of functions like mail merge. So these type of functions are the sub processes. Okay. So that will be under MS Word. So MS Word will be using these sub processes to take the information from which I can make the MS Word work properly. Okay. So that is about your cooperating process. So in this we have a concept called as inter-process communication. It is called as inter-process communication. Okay. So it is, we will call it as simply IPC. Okay. What is IPC is? IPC is nothing but, as the name says, it is inter-process communication. Inter-process communication is, we have discussed the topic called as cooperating process. In cooperating process, when one process wants to communicate with the other process, then that method or that procedure will consider it as IPC, which is inter-process communication. So in IPC there are majorly two types we are going to use. One will consider it as shared memory system, and the second process we will call it as message passing. One is shared memory system and second one is message passing system. So what does that mean? So we have already discussed, when you are executing any process, say when I am having a process 1, process 2, both those processes will be stored into RAM or your memory queue for execution. Okay. Based on that, how it is going to have shared memory and how it is going to have message passing between the two processes, that we are going to see with an example. Okay. First, coming for shared memory system. Shared memory system is this, we have already discussed, like when you have process 1 and process 2, and process 1 and process 2 are ready to execute, this will be in ready queue, or you can say these two processes will be stored into memory. Okay. When these two processes are stored in memory, so while creation of the process itself, so we have already studied the process creation stages, like we will have like fork is a method that is used for creating a process. Once a process is created, it will be stored into memory. Now once it has been stored into memory, we are going to allocate some shared memory location for this. Okay. So in the sense, apart from this two process, say if I have something like this, process 1, and we'll have some memory, and we'll have process 2. This memory that is in between is called as shared memory. Okay. So this memory will be used by both process 1 and process 2. So process 1 and process 2 will be using this shared memory. For what purpose it is going to use? It is going to use for exchange of data. It is going to use this memory space for exchange of data. Okay. So just be clear that when what is inter-process communication is, when one process wants to communicate with other process, we are going to call it as inter-process communication. When this is done, we will be having two major methods. One is called as shared memory system and other one is message passing system. In shared memory system, what happens is, when you are creating two processes, that two processes will be allocated with a common memory location, or we'll call it as shared memory location, that will be accessed both by process 1 as well as process 2. Okay, what it is going to do there is, it is going to exchange a data between one process and the other process. Okay, now this shared memory space or shared memory system requires some system calls. So what are the system calls is, once a shared memory is established, all accesses are treated as a routine. In the sense, for example, if a process 1 is having some information that has to be sent to process 2. So if process 1 wants to share some data to process 1, process 2, process 1 will send the information, or it will store the information in that memory, that is shared memory. After storing that in the shared memory, so it will tell the process 2 that there is some data that has been stored in the shared memory. That is, by using some system call, the process 1 will intimate the process 2 saying that I have sent the data, and then the process 2 will access the data from this shared memory. So by using, once it has accessed, again it will give a system call saying that I have taken the message. It is just like if you consider example of your WhatsApp itself. When you consider example of your WhatsApp, when you send a message, you're going to see some information like this. You're going to see a symbol like 2 tick marks or something like that. So that is, the information has reached from the sender to the receiver. Okay, so in the sense, there is a system call that says the information has been sent to receiver. Once the receiver saw the message, or once he views the message, this color, or the color of this will change to blue. In the sense, it says that the receiver had saw the message, and that information will be sent back to sender. Similarly, when a process 1 sends some information, that will be sent to process 2, and the system call is generated. And once the process 2 has received the information, that information will be sent back to process 2. Okay, so this is what happens when you are using shared memory between two processes for exchange of data. Okay, so here there is no requirement of kernel. Okay, kernel is nothing but it is the heart of your operating system. We have an operating system called as Unix. In that Unix operating system, we will come across kernel. Kernel is the major section of your operating system which will be controlling all the events. Okay, which is not required when you are using the method called as shared memory system. Okay, so that is about what is shared memory system and how the data is used in shared memory system. We will see one small example regarding what is shared memory system. We have an example called as producer and consumer problem. Okay, so what is producer consumer problem? So producer consumer problem is, say for example, if the producer produces some goods and that is used by consumer. Okay, so until the producer is produce the goods, consumer cannot consume. Okay, it is just like say for example, until you have the facility or the resource, you cannot use it. Okay, similar to that, when the producer is nothing but the person who will be producing the goods. Until the goods has been produced, it cannot be used by the consumer. Okay, so this is like, if one process needs some information that is stored or that is produced by other process, and then only the process can use that particular information. Okay, so once the producer has produced some information that can be consumed by the consumer. You can take also the example of, say you have a source program Source program, it is written in C language or any other language which is high level language that we have discussed. Okay. So once you compile this particular program, we are going to generate some object code. Okay. So that is high level program will be converted into machine level program. If there is no high level program, I cannot generate object level code, or machine level code cannot be generated. That is, this high level code will be acting as what? This will be acting as producer, and this object code will be nothing but what? It is consumer. So until this has produced, this cannot be executed. It is just like when you get any syntax error. When you get any syntax error, you cannot execute that program. Once all the syntax errors are cleared, then you can execute the program. So similar to that, we have producer as well as consumer problem. So under this there should be a mechanism to represent when once a producer has completed its production, or once the producer has given the goods, the consumer should be intimated so that he can consume the goods. Similarly, once a program has been written and there is no syntax error there, then only the compiler can use that program and it can generate the object code. So the problem is simple. When a two process, if process 1 and process 2, we have process 1 and process 2. So process 1 gives some information to process 2. So process 2 cannot continue its execution until process 1 has given the data. Okay. So this is how we are going to consider this example or example of producer consumer problem. Here there are two types of producer consumer problem that can be used. Or what is the solution for this is? The solution for this is we are going to share memory. Okay. We are going to share some common memory between process 1 and process 2. Once some common memory has been shared, whatever data that has been produced, that will be sent to this memory, and this memory can be accessed by consumer. Okay. So in this memory space what we are using, it is called as buffer. Okay. So under this we have two types of buffer. One is unbounded, other one is bounded. So unbounded is memory size is not fixed. Okay. So that is, it does not have a fixed size of memory. It can increase or it can decrease. Whereas bounded is memory size will be fixed. So memory size will be fixed in bounded buffer. In the sense, if a producer starts producing and the size of the memory allocation is, say I can store only 5 elements. So the producer can generate or give the data of how many values? Only 5. You can store only 5 values into the data whatever you have. Okay, that is, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I can store 5 values, and so once the 5 values has been finished, the producer will wait, or it will be waiting until the consumer uses this values. This type of representation we will call it as bounded buffer. So when it is just like we have discussed something like stack, so similar to that. Now if the thing is empty, like if the buffer is empty, there is no element in the buffer, then consumer will be waiting. So when consumer will wait, when it is empty, when the memory is empty, and when the producer will wait, will be waiting once the memory is full, or all the memory locations or sufficient data has been fulfilled, then the producer will be waiting. When the elements are that is, there is no element in the memory, then consumer will be waiting. Okay, so to solve this problem we have a simple algorithm or a method. So we'll see what is the process for producer. So for producer we have a simple function. For producer function what we are going to write as, so while true. So basically first initially it will be true. Once it is true, we are going to use one more while loop which is representing counter. If counter equals to buffer size, so buffer size as we discussed, example buffer size is 5. So that is I can store only 5 elements. So we have producer function where while it is true, while counter equals to buffer size. So then we will be waiting, or we will say we will wait or we will do nothing. Okay. So this says when the buffer what we are having, which is of 5 locations, I have some elements like 1, 2, 5, 6, 20, all the 5 elements I have given. So then the producer function will be waiting, or it will be waiting for until the consumer is consumed. It will be waiting, or it will not do anything, that is do nothing. And if the buffer what you are using, if the buffer equals to, we will write next produced. So in the sense, what does that mean is, if this is not true, if this condition is not true, then buffer will go to create the next element, okay, where n element will be equal to n plus 1 modulus of buffer size. Okay. So if you remember, we have discussed that is like circular queue. We have discussed circular queue in data structure. There we have come across these concepts like once a element has added, top will be incremented. Similarly, once an element has deleted, top will be decremented in stack. In circular queue what happens, once an element is added, rear will be incremented. Once element is deleted, front will be incremented. The same method we are following in this method called as producer function. Similarly, when you write consumer function, it is just opposite. That is, the same will start with while and it will be true. While it is true, so when the consumer will be waiting, when it is empty. So when counter is equal to 0, then he is going to wait, or is not going to do anything. Who? The consumer. Consumer does not do anything when it is empty. Once it is not empty, if it is not empty, so we will say that we will take that element, the next product what you have in the this is memory, that will be taken from buffer, and I am going to call it as n. Okay. So and once it has been taken out, second I will call it as m. So I will take it out and m will be incremented, m plus 1 modulus of buffer size. Okay. And at last I will decrement counter value, because I have taken one element from the buffer. That is, previously whenever I add the element, counter will be incremented. Whenever I take the element, counter will be decremented. So this is how we are going to do your producer and consumer problem. So hope you can see here, we have this, when the element is taken out from the buffer, we will be decrementing it. When the element is inserted, we will be incrementing the counter value. Okay. When produced, it will be plus plus, and when it is consumed, it will be minus minus. Okay. So I will stop here, and in the next session I will be explaining the next topic. Okay. Thank you.